Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvellously well. We're here at the IK Multimedia booth with Stefan, otherwise known as Steve Baltes. How did you get the name Steve?
Actually, when I started to make music and we had a band, they said, okay, Stefan is not going to fly, we need something cooler. So when I was like 13, 14, everyone started to call me Steve, and we stick with that.
It's like Hanoi Rocks, I think, the Finnish band. I think they all changed their names to sort of sound like British or American rock stars.
That's what I tried to do.
So you're Steve?
Yeah.
Stevie? Steve-O?
You choose.
All right, so first thing I wanted to say, you've got a new synth. Now, there's been a lot of talk about a lot of these new synths come out and they are essentially just kind of controllers for digitally designed. Might as well be a virtual plugin or something. This is not. This is actually an analog synthesizer. And it's amazing what it can do. I was just messing with it a second ago. So tell us what it does, please.
Yeah, so this is our very new incarnation of the Unisynth family. There has been like two more Unisynth before. So there was the small Unisynth and then there was the Unisynth Pro. And this is the newest family member, which is the Pro X, where we took all the input from all the musicians, put it in that machine, made it more accessible because the old one has had only a few knobs, and so we put one dedicated knob for every function. But the heart of it, it's a 3-oscillator, fully analog synthesizer with an analog drive. Your oscillators, you can also play it polyphonic and monophonic. And the only digital side is the effects, but they are send effects, so they're not interrupting the whole chain in the synth. And you have a very nice, powerful analog drive as well. And the oscillators are a little bit different than...
So it's interesting how it works, because you've got a small unit here. You've got 3 oscillators, and I saw a second ago you were like switching between oscillators, and then you were like resetting the level like this.
Yeah.
Correct? Mm-hmm. So if you come back, below the halfway point, okay, it catches it and becomes the next oscillator. So it's pretty awesome. Why don't you just take us through, like, let's hear the 3 different oscillators, let's hear how all this, cutoffs and resonance frequencies, etc. work. And then you were saying earlier that you have a digital section, which is the effects. However, it's post all the analog, yes?
Yeah. Hmm?
Great.
So let's start with the oscillator. So if it's set up correctly, we should just hear,
Sorry, it's the little mic. The little mic you're going to be hearing.
So this is just one raw oscillator.
Yeah.
And the oscillators, they don't have fixed waveforms. You just switch. You can actually morph between them. So you start here. It's hard to see on the small display here, but you have a visual feedback. So you start with a triangle, and then it morphs to a saw wave, and then it goes to the pulse wave, and here's the pulse wave you can modulate.
Now, obviously this is difficult to see on the camera shot but essentially it's over here and you can see the visual. You can obviously hear it as well, but you can see it from here.
So bring in the second oscillator, so I bring up the level, and I also change the waveform. Let's detune a little bit. Go to the third oscillator, dial that in, bring that down.
Oh, I love that.
So here we go.
Evil from this little thing. Where's Christian Kohler when we need him for the evilness?
And
this is fantastic.
This is even without the drive, so if you bring in the drive, it gets more nasty.
Yeah.
And then we have the filter. We have 2 filters built in. The first filter is a so-called OTA filter, which is what all the 80s Roland synths had, like the 101. Mm-hmm. So that's a 12 dB filter. It can be low pass or it can be a high pass. It's actually very nice high pass. And the cool thing is that you have a second filter, which is only a low pass, but it's 24 dB, so it has a bit more low end, and also the second one can self-oscillate, so the resonance is a bit more aggressive, and you can combine them. So you put the first one, you do a little low cut, and then you take this low cut sound and take the second filter, and you can do very cool filter combinations make it talk. And if you like the setting, you can link the filters.
Mm-hmm.
So I press link, and now the first cutoff controls also the second cutoff. So you get nice filter mixes. So yeah, very fat sound.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a child of, we were just talking about, child of the 80s, growing up on 80s and 90s as well. That's when I started playing in bands. But I love tactile things. And don't get me wrong, virtual world is absolutely beautiful. But this fulfills everything for me. And it's amazing because, you know, of course, growing up, knowing Profits and Roland and Yamaha synths, of course, as well. Korg, you know, Oberheim. Growing up with that stuff as a kid, seeing them in music stores, having friends that used them and played them, and then in the studios. It's amazing. I'm hearing all the sounds that I grew up with, and it's this big.
Yeah, and it's a bit more heavy, and the build quality, it's a bit more sturdy than the old one. Also, the connections is worth to mention.
Yeah.
Now we have a proper power connection. The last one was powered by USB, and we have balanced.
I always get
tracks.
nervous when something's powered by USB,
absolutely.
even though I know it usually works.
Yeah.
The word usually I don't like.
Yeah.
I want it to always work.
Yeah. So you have this little keyboard here, some more key features. We have a fully loaded sequencer in here, which has 64 steps.
Nice.
So you can do step recording, real-time recording. You have an arpeggiator with plenty of modes. You can do like parameter recording on every step. And you have 3 envelopes, 2 LFOs, and you have a very nice effect section, which might be worth to...
Is there any digital control for it?
If you want to control it digitally, we have an editor for your computer. You can open it as a plugin. But to be honest, I think the fun.
Most guys like you and
I like to tweak it, but with some stuff, because for the envelope you have one row for 3 envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
So at the editor you see it all in once, and it's nice to organize your preset. But I think that the actual machine is the most fun.
I do. I completely understand. I can't imagine. I do need to get some stuff at home, and this makes a lot of sense to me. Even though I love the idea of having a whole bunch of extremely expensive vintage synths, I'm not going to give them the kind of love where something like this is a lot more practical for me. So we should definitely talk. I want to get one of these. Oh, speaking of which, we're doing a giveaway. We are doing a giveaway. Yep. We're giving away one of these, which is rather wonderful because it's $599 dollaroonies or euros. So it's an amazing giveaway. There's going to be a link down below for it. Can you play us out with, you had a program thing with the Uno drum.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is pretty cool.
This is our drum machine, which is around for quite a while. So let's press play, see what happens. Okay, it's
awesome. Brings me back to my youth. Now I want to do is just put like a kind of guitar or a guitar through a gate.
That's actually also doable because we have an audio in, and you can plug in your guitar, and then you can use the filters and the gate and everything for your guitar.
Awesome.
And I use the bassline mode, which is also cool, which mimics kind of the sequencer of the 303.
Nice.
So
that's Stefan or Steve. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my
Fantastic.
pleasure. Thanks for stopping by.
Enter to win down below. There is a link below the video. This is Robert/Rodger.
Right.
He goes by Rodger as well. Kleiner, how are you?
How are you, Roland?
It's been good. It's been good. You, I think you went to all my master classes.
Yes.
Poor person.
Actually, I especially came here, to see your stuff.
Thank you.
And I was glad that you did another master class because obviously, unfortunately, that other guy got ill.
Somebody got COVID, and then they said, "Would you cover it as well?" So I got to do another masterclass.
And that was a good thing for me, actually, because I came especially for you all the way from Heidelberg to Hamburg, and because I wanted to pick up as much as I can from your knowledge, and I did pick up quite a lot, and I hope it will stay in my head, for the time being, and until I get home.
Very, very kind.
Until I can apply that to my workflow.
You're very kind. Well, I've got to ask you, because it's been a great time at Studioszene 2023. What has been your favorite thing here? Is there any piece of equipment? Forget me.
Okay. Well, I must say, in general, I like the master classes a lot because even if there were people that are not, like covering my genre, so to say, which is rock and hard rock, I picked a lot of information from them, and I think it's a nice little exhibition here, and I hope it will grow because obviously some of the manufacturers are not here yet but it's a new.
It was quite well represented. I hear last year it was only a few hundred people.
Yeah.
And we got contacted by Mark Bone,
right.
who's running this at Sound and Recording, and said, hey, you want to come out and help promote it? And we did, and there's 5,000 people have showed up. So they went from a couple of hundred to 5,000. Yeah. So I think it can only go up from here. Thank you, Robert / Rodger.
Yes. Thank you very much for your information.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So I'm here with Lars at Session Desk. How are you?
Nice meeting you.
Good to see you.
Thanks, man.
Now, tell us about this first of all. Now, you're saying Gustav is kind of your flagship desk. What you're most known for, if you don't mind me saying?
Well, the Gustav is the most sold desk in Europe.
Yep.
Well, it brings you everything you need, and of course, it gives you the feeling back of sitting on a console. We have birch plywood, and we developed our own surface, which is called Polyplex. It's just super stable. It's available in 4 different colors. You can high adjust this part here if you need it. I mean, cable management is obvious here.
Yep.
You just throw it all over through, right?
Yeah, I see. And this is built in Portugal?
It's built in Portugal and it's driven by the sun because we have like 70% meanwhile directly solar power from our roof.
Yep.
Driving the CNCs, yeah.
Very nice indeed.
On each side you have 9.5 units rack space. We always provide a half unit more because sometimes, you have that one unit that gets really hot or you have a cable that needs to go through and then you lose already one unit if it would be like the normal rack rails, This you are free to adjust.
Yeah.
So
great.
that's one of the opportunities here.
Yeah, I know what you mean I've seen that a lot with people with huge racks and they've got all this gear and it's literally like on fire.
Yeah.
And you're killing the life of your unit.
True.
Yeah.
Totally.
Great. Tell us about this over here.
Yeah. Well, this is the modular system.
Yep.
This model is the Duo. So it's the name says itself. It's a modular system. So you have several parts. You have upper racks. You have lower racks. You can unscrew that one, put a tabletop in. You can put another rack inside which has a shelf on the back if you need it for a computer. You can expand the desk, and you can also have it the shape as the Gustav. If you split in the middle and have this trapeze parts in the center section. Yeah.
Great. So this can basically add to this. Can you get more of these units? You buy these modularly and expand them around?
Possibly here too, but mainly the modular system is made for this. And that one is also available in any color. Yep. We do a lot of customization with that one. You can do console integration and so on.
Now, our cameraman, Julian, over there, was asking some questions about reflections and stuff of the desks.
The truth is, the best desk is no desk, as we know.
Yeah.
But you need a place where you work on. So we really were checking out what is the best angles, and the shorter the tabletop is, the better it is. What also helps is the slices in here, even if your speakers are mounted in the wall. So, of course, a desk is a compromise, but we tried to make the best compromise in terms of this.
Right.
Okay.
What's interesting, Mark Ender, a good friend of mine, was mixing on an SSL for decades.
Yeah.
And when he eventually moved away from an SSL and started mixing entirely in the box, he actually had to get a desk.
Yeah, of course.
Initially, because he was so used to the sound, the reflections that you get from the SSL.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, we are humans. We can really compensate that.
We do.
The reason why I started with Session Desk is it's almost 10, 12 years ago. And there was nothing even in Europe really available. And I wanted to have the feeling back sitting on a console.
So we have a huge giveaway, one of our biggest, to be honest. This is really, really fantastic. This gorgeous desk, the Gustav, Lars from Session Desk is giving us one of these to give away. Lars, you're a rock star. Thank you. there will be a link to enter to win this beautiful Gustav desk. Marek, how are you?
My brother, haven't seen you in a long time.
I know, this is great, and it's wonderful to fly over the other side of the world. Well, I suppose not quite the other side of the world, but over here to
Other
beautiful
side of the
Hamburg.
pond.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You do look remarkably refreshed. The 2 or 3 other Americans I bumped into are like this, like completely jet-lagged.
Because
So-
they don't know the magic behind
What is the
jet
magic?
lag. You were always on universal time. People are always saying, it's really this time for me.
Yeah.
No, man, it's this time for
Very
you.
true.
Yeah, wherever you are. So you just have to
Yeah.
be on that time. That's the magic.
All right, so obviously, clearly, if you don't already know, Marek is dangerous. So, you are dangerous. Look at you.
I just try to entertain myself, right? Because we learned during COVID, who's going to entertain you? You better do it yourself. What's for dinner, man?
Yeah.
Right? So.
Fantastic. So, give us I don't know, let's start from the top, seeing as this is this is the first time we've been through the whole line, so let's do it.
Well, you don't want me to walk you through the whole dangerous system complete, or you want me to walk through separate items? I mean,
I don't know.
signal
The
flow?
floor is yours, my friend. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, really, the idea behind dangerous music is a system, right? So Neve brought us character, right?
Yep.
And SSL brought us workflow. And so what dangerous music brought you was audiophilia. So we didn't know, mastering was this dark secret, right? It would happen behind closed doors. There was this wizardry that happened. We didn't know what happened, So the average person hadn't experienced that kind of level of sonics. So dangerous music obviously started in mastering. Chris Muth, a legend in the mastering world, worked at so many different places. Hit Factory Mastering, of course, Sterling Sound. And so he brought that clarity into the common person, us, into our world, the mix and recording engineer. So I kind of think of those as the trilogy story, right? So now you have all those, now the consumer has all those choices for sonics. They've got all the character, they've got all the workflows, and they've got this incredible sonic if they want to. All right, so that's the quick background. So we build this, people lust after consoles.
Sure.
But you have to buy you'd have to drop a big bundle of cash to buy, bang, the console. You still need A to D converters, D to A converters. You still need outboard gear, etc. So we build it in a modular format, so you're filling your desk to create a desk.
Nice.
Right?
So just take us from the top. So what do we have here? We've got A to Ds.
Yep. So you got arguably one of the best A to Ds in the world, capture mechanism. What's cool about this A to D? Well, we like to keep things simple. So when you want to calibrate something, because nobody can agree on calibration, talk to the AES people, by the way, for me. So some of the world is at, if you're Avid, you're probably at -18. If you're Apogee, you're at -16. If you're a mastering guy, you might be at -14 on one end of it, right? So I can change this fast as opposed to going in, opening the box, going to software, whatever, and then I forgot, and I do my next session and I blew it. All right, so we believe in things being simple. I've got 2 inputs on here because I can track through one and I can mix through another if I want to. Or if I'm a mastering guy, I might have 2 D to A's and I want to compare what the 2 D to A's sound like.
Okay.
Right, so
nice.
super easy. I don't have to repatch anything. I've got clip guard. Clip guard, all it does is it turns off the red light downstream. So I'm clipping, like Luca Pretolesi or whatever, will clip for color, for character. Right? He wants to use this, and it has very different patina than using a compressor, right? So he's reducing his crest factor to make things more exciting in the song, and then laying off that. Yeah, you can definitely hear that because it causes tension in you.
Yeah.
So, but then made for Apple, for the artist formerly known as iTunes, now Apple Music, is going to reject it, right? Because it's got clipping all over it.
That really annoyed me as well. It's like, I was fine with iTunes. Why did you? Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Well, it's because I think they own so many I words that IHOP was starting to get nervous. Anyway, so ClipGuard just turns off the red light in the destination. Doesn't change the sound. It's not a digital limiter. It has nothing to do with the sonics. It is only just turning that off, which is a unique thing. I have meter scaling, so I can look at the last 10 dB in there. So, because that's really, we believe, here's your peak, here's your RMS, and in between there's the crest factor where the emotional content lives. So I'm really want to focus in on what I've got in that particular song, right? So we've got two scales here, 0 to -80 and 0 to -10 in the center. So right now we're looking at the 0 to -80 because I've got my peak, my RMS, and my crest factor is the gray area in between. Then when I hit the scaling button, now I'm using the center row, right? So I'm 0 to -10, and it's expanding the last 10 dB so I can look at that critical crest factor.
Yeah, it's really smart. That is a very unique selling feature and something that would really push me towards that. I like that a lot.
And then lastly, we've got two color circuits built into here, right?
Yep.
So everything we do is always on a true hardware bypass. So when it's out, it is completely out of your circuit, because today you're doing a classical record, right? And you don't want any color on it. You're trying to capture the reality of it. Great. But tomorrow you're doing a hip hop record, you're doing rock and roll. Remember rock and roll? So you're gonna, I guess Monoskin is the only one we remember. I've got a transformer here. So the transformer is either in or out. And this is a Hammond transformer. Remember Hammond, as in Hammond B3, Canadian company, been around for 100 years. They build really cool transformers. I mean, we listen to a million transformers, we picked that. People think this knob controls this. It does not. It's a separate circuit.
Right.
So when I hit this button, it turns both of these things on. But the emphasis is now off. Emphasis is obviously now on.
Okay.
So two completely different things. So this will give you a little bit of sparkle, kind of a little bit of tightness to it. It's something out of Chris's brain, So it's kind of a little bit of compressor and backs together, a tiny bit. So most people I see are living around here to here.
Okay.
So
very nice.
there's multiple outputs on this: AES, SPDIF, optical, SPDIF, coax, USB, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can make this in an aggregate.
And these are 8-channel converters.
These are 8-channel D2As. So this is a 2-channel A to D. These are 8-channel D2As. So when I stack two together, last I checked with new math, 8 plus 8 was 16.
I hear that.
So that's why
I think you're probably right. What do you think?
Yeah. So that's what I'm running going into 2Buzz Plus.
Dumb questions. How much is this?
This guy is $3,000. Street.
$3,000, and then how much are the 8s?
They are $3,500 each.
Nice.
Street.
Then what do we have down here? Is this the classic 2-bus, but it's a 2-bus plus?
2Buzz Plus, right. So I'm running two of these guys. So I have 8 plus 8, like I said, going into 16 inputs over here.
Yeah.
So important thing that a lot of people don't have on their summing mixers are LEDs, so you can tell what's actually happening. I was testing a 2-mix right now. That's why we only have 2 things going on. Sounds silly, but you may not realize, but to make an LED that does not affect your audio is very complicated.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you listen to a distressor in a really low band, you'll hear the meter do that. And believe me, I own 2 distressors. I respect that product.
I love distressors. Yeah.
So we have built a separate circuit. This is multed so that this is out of your signal path, but you're still able to troubleshoot and figure out what you're doing.
There's 2 mono controls here. Is that mono for the first 8, mono for the second 8?
It's for 1 and 2 and 9 and 10. Purpose behind that is I'm probably going to do like a kick and snare over here, and I'm probably going to do a bass and a vocal over here.
Okay.
Lead vocal. Yep, so that's about what you're going to need. For somebody, again, like in the EDM world, often they get stereo stems. So they might have a stereo kick, and this will bring it back to mono. And everybody that uses it will just tell you that mono here, as opposed to in your DAW, just has some properties that you just can't find.
What do you have on the back on this?
XLR and DB25, either one.
Accessing inserts on these?
No inserts, just straight XLR or DB25. You're going to access those inserts either if you want to put all that in a patch bay like I do, and I also use Liaison through this insert. I can show you how that all operates together.
Well, let's move to the Liaison because you mentioned it. So what does the Liaison do?
So Liaison allows me to switch between 6 pieces of stereo outboard gear at the touch of a switch, right? You and I have talked about this before at Music Mesa many years ago. Yeah. So the reason, and people say, oh, it's like a patch bay. Okay, so if I'm in a patch bay and I want to see if I would like to have this back EQ before the compressor and then try it the other way around, I'm going to record it, switch it in the patch bay, record it again, and then A/B those two. Who is going to do that today? Who's going to take the time and do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Rodger Nichols. And he's dead.
And he's dead, yeah.
Right. So I can just hit this button and flip between the two that fast and see what's going to sound better. I can also use this during my tracking phase and my mixing phase. So what do I mean by that? So people have all this great gear welded to their mix bus.
Right.
They're like, hey, I've got my variable mu, and I've got my massive passive, and I've got my dangerous compressor and my backs, and that's on my mix bus. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it, right? Okay, so I'm accessing all those things like that on my mix bus, but I've got a separate bus A, so I can actually track through all that stuff at the same time.
That's smart.
Yeah, so part of the magic is we're trying to be unique. All great art that stands the test of time is different. We're not sounding like today's or yesterday's hits. We want to sound like tomorrow's. We want to create the sound of tomorrow. So by doing something that seems crazy, like, well, I just use this for my mix down, and suddenly putting it on a vocal, and you realize, wow, that's really powerful. I mean, you can make somebody sound like Gwen Stefani. What defined her vocal thing was like the Joe Meek box, where they hit I forget what that button was called, but it was like a notch EQ, right? And that made her pop, so just experimenting with boxes. So here I can do all this crazy experimentation. I can also put things on parallel. So if I've got a unit I'm listening to, and I just hit parallel, whoop, it's engaged in parallel that fast. And I can store those things, whatever. But
I like this a lot. This is a nice idea.
yeah, super, super fast.
Yeah.
It'll really make you leverage your gear in ways that you
that's a
haven't.
big feature, because the reality is talked about this years ago when it first started happening, maybe 8 years ago, where hardware companies started looking at plugins and seeing that plugins had a mix control, which is basically a parallel function. So suddenly everybody started manufacturing hardware that had a parallel, a mix control essentially. But of course, any vintage piece of equipment you have will not have that facility.
Yep.
So this is a really smart idea. You can patch in your old gates or whatever you might have, so your Bluey 1176 or whatever, and now you've got a way of accessing, destroy the signal through it and then blend it in the amount you want.
Yeah, well, exactly, because it's always easier to overcompress or over EQ. Because you're getting into it, it's fun, it's like, yes! And then you suddenly realize,
especially solo.
You're like Godzilla isn't going to work on every single track in this song. So then you dial in, again, you're moving a knob, so you're feeling your way into the track. And when you make the emotional connection, you're there.
Right. Fantastic. All right, well, we skipped over two things because you mentioned liaison, so I wanted to go to that. Let's start with the top here. The EQ, the BAX EQ.
BAX EQ, yep. So there, you've got different types of EQs out there. You've got a GML, which is a surgical EQ, right? So he's like a Navy SEAL. He goes in, kills some motherfucker, gets out, and no one knows the difference, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to get rid of your guitar string scratch, you get rid of your snare ring, something like that. But if you try to put an 8200 on a kick drum or something, it's not going to go pow, right? That's going to be your inductor style EQ, or Neve, API, traditional style
Broader
EQs.
Strokes,
Yep, right. And so those things introduce phase into our lives, right? We love it. It feels good, and we know what we're doing. But when it comes to a BAX EQ, it's the traditional knobs on your home hi-fi.
Yeah.
Just done in incredible audiophile style. This is really a pleaser. I describe the BAX EQ as, I'm just going to make it a little neater, richer, sweeter, and I'll be down here in the corner if you need anything, right? He's an apologist. So it's just whatever you give it, it's going to improve.
Very nice indeed. So to 1.6.
Yeah, because it's boosting everything from there up.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of energy.
So it's similar to a Pultec then. So one of the things, and obviously completely different circuitry.
Yes.
One of the things that's funny with Pultecs that these clones that people have been showing me is they're all bell. None of them are shelf.
Well,
they build them and they build these things, and I'm like, that's not how Pultec works. If you're going to boost the low end, it should be doing this. You go to 60.
And you want it to do this.
Yeah,
the Pultec
exactly.
does that trick, so you have a place to put your kick drum if you're boosting the low end.
Wonderful. So the compressor.
Dangerous compressor. So I have two favorite.
I do love this look, by the way.
I have
it's got a very kind of EMI.
Yep. Super sexy.
Rotary fader kind of. Yeah.
Yep. I've got two favorite vocal compressors in the world. This is one of them. But this...
What's your other one?
LOP Plus from Manly.
Nice.
So, which I think you guys just listened to, right? You were doing something with.
Yeah, we love Ivana, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Been friends for a long, long time. So the Dangerous compressor is one of the only compressors that you can really use on everything, which is a bold statement, but it's actually true. Try it and you will discover it. So what happens is people say, okay, well, Dangerous is kind of a mastering company, so it's going to be really transparent and musical. Yes, that's all true, but you can take off the safety protocols and you can make it have character. So it sounds to me like you can make it sound like an SSL bus compressor if you want to, because it's VCA style. If you take off the protocols, you can do that. You can make it sound like what good FM radio used to sound like in the 80s. It can sound like that if you want to give it the character, but yes, it can also be pretty transparent. So I can do like 20 dB of crushing on a vocal, and it's acceptable. And I do that demo all the time.
I mean, the obvious question is just how fast is this attack and release?
Very fast.
Very, very fast.
Yep, very fast. And the couple things that are very interesting about it. You have something called Smart Dyne. So Smart Dyne is a dual slope detector circuit. Right. So in English, for us mere mortals, what that means is I've got a quick transient that crosses over the threshold, and it's going to take that down as opposed to hitting the whole thing. Sure. Because normally you have a quick transient and your whole mix will drop, right? Yeah. So in this case, I'll just take that transient and it affects the average separately. It's very almost like having a compressor followed by a limiter. It's almost like that, right? So I've got that. I can take that safety protocol off if I want to hear more of the compressor working, to hear it grabbing stuff, right? But it's really great when you want to hear it, make it less audible. Then I've got a hard knee, soft knee. You know what that is. Obviously, this is crossing gently or it's crossing fast across the line. So I'd want probably soft for a vocal, but I'd want hard maybe if I'm doing like a bass that's he's slapping or drums, something like that. And then I've got auto setting for my attack and release, and I can also do manual.
So in the one-to-one mode, you're just getting the characteristic of...
Yes, and you'll see people like Todd Whitelack using that on somebody like Cecile McLaurin Salvant, who I think is one of the greatest jazz singers of our time. And he uses the gain here because he likes the gain in this box versus gain in Pro Tools.
Nice,
right? So he'll ride that as her character piece.
Wonderful. Yep. All the way up to, what's your highest? 30... Oh, no, 20 to 1.
20 to 1, yeah.
So you've got...
You notice we've got these feathered ranges, 1.4 to 1, 1.7 to 1, 2 to 1. So people don't realize how powerful those small gradients are.
So this is pretty comprehensive. We have a quick look at what
it is really powerful. Dude, the side chain in here took Chris 8 months to design. It is really intelligent. So bass cut, you know what that is.
Yeah, what's the frequency set to?
It's around 80, I believe.
Okay, so it's letting kick drums, low end on bass guitars.
Yep. And you've got, this says sibilance boost, terrible labels, right? Like a bass cut, what self-respecting hip-hop producer is going to hit a button that says bass cut?
Yeah.
But it's obviously what's being sent to this to listen to, for the detector circuit to listen to. Because the detector circuit, really design a detector circuit dictates how the compressor is going to work.
What are you calling sibilance? 5 to 7K?
Yeah, it's probably 3. It's
to
a little
7?
bit lower. So really what you'll find that's really useful on, because quite honestly, they're a great... plug-in, de-essers. So, but what you're really going to like this on is actually dealing with stuff. If you get a track that's got cheap overhead pencils or something on it, really brash sounding, or maybe you've got a bad loop, like the loop's got too much grittiness or edge on it, use this to actually peel away some of that. So as opposed to like just using an EQ and just taking the whole top off, you're grabbing some of those pointier pieces.
So for your hip hop guys and your dance guys, you should probably call it bass boost and sibilance cut.
Absolutely, man. We have a little overlay you can put on it.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And then you've got an external side chain, so you can plug something else in, but you can also monitor what it's listening to right here.
Okay, nice.
So it's super fast, super easy to do that. And last thing that's cool on this box that is sort of amazing to see. Let's see if I can make it do it. Is so. We've obviously got the VUs and we've got LEDs here. Now, if you are hardcore about your compression, you may just want to be nibbling on something, right? So the VU might not move, but that meter, this LED will tell me if just one sample has gone across. It's one tiny trigger over the threshold.
Okay. It's nice.
So 2-Bus XT is a more affordable version of the 2-Bus Plus.
Okay.
So you have the exact same circuitry for your summing. All our summing mixers do. You've got the exact same circuitry.
So what is the circuitry? Treat me like an idiot, which I am anyway.
It's a 6-layer circuit board.
Yeah.
Right? So we can give you crazy crosstalk specs like minus 109 dB. Crosstalk just means how much peanut butter gets in your chocolate, right? So if I've got my left and right blending here, or do I have great separation? So I've got incredible separation in my all my channels here. So think back to tracking in the old days. So I've got a 24-track Studer 827. I've got Synth on track 24. I'm not going to put my vocal on track 23. Because
put your hi-hat.
Yeah, because you're going to have quite a bit of crosstalk
There was always hi-hat on track 1, tambourine on 23.
Yeah, maybe the triangle, and then you never used it in the final.
Yeah.
Anyways,
no, the triangle was put into the bass track.
God.
Because you could have nothing above 3K on your bass amp,
Yes.
but you could have like a tambourine or something going on.
Absolutely.
This is those old Beatles recordings. You hear along with Paul's bass line.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. I've got 2 color circuits over here. So I've got a transformer, and as I mentioned, this is our transformer 3. So I've got 3 different types of transformers in all our boxes. We've got Cinemags in the 2-Bus Plus. I've got Hammonds in the AD Plus, and I've got off-the-shelf super secret sauce on the transformer 3. So this is either in or out. Again, true hardwire bypass, so completely out of your circuit. This is the little line is telling you this knob is in its own world. Coherence is a different circuit, and this is allowing me to control how much coherence I want.
So what is coherence?
Coherence is...
If it comes in drunk here, you can understand it on the other side.
What it does is it pulls some of the spiky things down a little bit and brings and pushes the signal up and out.
What have we got going on down here? The D-Box Plus.
D-Box Plus is the greatest hits of everything that we learned from everything else. So the D-Box Plus, first and foremost, is a monitor controller, and it's not going to ruin your audio. Second, it is a D to A converter. It's got multiple D to A's in it because it's got AES is one D to A. Your USB, known as USUB, is your the world's worst digital language, but nonetheless we're all stuck with it.
Well, when we guitar players in the 80s, we used to call MIDI M1, D1.
Right, or My Die was the other one I used to hear a lot. Yep. So you got USUB over here, and then I've got AES. And why do I care? Because I'm listening to my DAW mix over here, right? So my mix down, I'm listening, but then I could flip to my test track that I'm listening, hopefully through Tidal, not Spotify, or on YouTube or whatever's coming back through here through my DAW. So I can just switch instantly, source switch. Then I've also got Bluetooth, which we know doesn't sound good, but it's a mandatory need today, right?
Sure.
Someone brings in their phone.
You want to reference something
Yeah,
quickly,
hey, can you? I want the feel of the song like this. It's like, okay, let's listen on Bluetooth. My summing input, my analog input. So anyway, so I've got killer D to A's, killer monitoring in here, source switching you just noticed. I can switch between 3 different speakers or make this a sub on the bottom here. Obviously I've got mono control. I've got a separate side. Go ahead.
So are these mandatory titles though? Because you're saying analog or sub.
This is an analog input on the back. So stereo analog input. On the back. This is my summing return. So whatever's coming from these, I'm listening to here because it is an 8-channel summing mixer as well.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I'm able to flip. Usually the way you'd have it is this would be your before, and then this is your final coming back from Pro Tools, your after, right? So before and after. Right. You can assign those to stick if you want. So in other words, I'll just change one side over here. So now these I can latch as many as I want, or I can have them be either or, right?
I see.
Like that. You can also do moment toggle on every switch. So let's say these are your speakers and you want to hear the sub sometimes. So it's like, what does it sound like with a sub? Okay, you're checking. Or click and it'll latch.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've got 2 sides on here, you'll notice. The talent side called phones, and then the control room side, which is the producer side. You only get the R when you're good. So I can listen to 2 separate two separate things, two separate sets of headphones. So the talent could be listening to something different than I'm listening to in the control room. You can run up to 6 sets of cans off each one of these jacks. And they're also in the rear if you don't like spaghetti in the front of your rack.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
Yeah, line output.
How much is this?
$24.99 US Street.
It's interesting, yeah.
So then you've also got an app. So it's
You've got
free.
an app for that. Of course you have.
It's free for your phone, and we
Nice.
don't discriminate. It's either Android or Apple. It also works on an iPad or a tablet. It also works
Nice.
on Mac or PC. You'll see it's very responsive. Feels good, right?
Yeah,
And
it's
it works. It
fantastic.
works the other way too. So if we're changing into here, it's going to change there. And same thing here with like right now we're selecting speakers, and you can hear the relays in
Nice.
there. Everything's on relays.
All right, what do we have here? We've got 2 more things to talk about. We've got the Convert 2.
Yep. So Convert 2 is a 2-channel D to A. Remember we had the 8-channel D to A's up there,
Yep.
right? So this is a 2-channel. So a lot of mastering guys, but also people that want to upgrade their system. Like you've got your Pro Tools system. It's in a time capsule. You love it, but you're not so excited about your front end and your back end, or whatever. You've got a Motu system. You've got a Focusrite system. As long as you've got a digital input and output on that system, just plug this in on the back end, plug that in on the front end, the 80 plus, and now you've got this great sandwich. You don't have to mess with anything in your rig. You haven't screwed up your ecosystem. You've just improved everything, so all of a sudden you can hear that much better. So it's a 2-channel killer D to A that's designed to be transparent. That's its job. So I've got different sources that I can bring into it. I've got USB, I've got AS, or SPDIF. It doesn't care which you plug into either one. I've got 2 of those. I've got outs also from those, throughs. And then I've got ADAT or SPDIF optical that I can run through this guy. I can even do what's called an uplink and send that back out the USB. So if I'm podcasting or like, let's say I'm doing a mix and my client wants to hear it real time, latency through the internet or whatever, I can send them something. So if we're talking about, look, what are we talking about? I don't know what you mean. Second hook halfway through. What are we talking about? Talking about this part right here with the vocals. And you can do it real time and affect that for the client. So same great meters that you're looking at upstairs that you got going on here. And this is also controllable through the Monitor ST remote control. So when I change my... I can do input switching.
I've seen about 100 of these in studio tools.
Yep. So when I'm switching my inputs, I want to swap between. I've got whatever YouTube here, and I've got my mix down here, and so on and so forth. I don't have to. I can stay in the sweet spot. I don't have to lose it.
Last but no means least, what do we have down the bottom here?
Yep. Monitor ST. So that's the brain that's connected to this. Right?
Amazing.
And again, you hear all those relays in there, right, on everything.
Yep.
So. And you can expand this out. Most people don't realize you can expand it out to a 14-channel system for Atmos. And it's super easy because it's analog.
Oh, wow.
So I connected one. We did a training 2 days at Sweetwater. And so we set it up with the Ex Machina speakers, which are all level matched. So I just came out of this and the ST with the 3 SRs, and I didn't have to change level for anything. I didn't have to mess with EQ for anything because they're all voiced the same. All I did was obviously I had to change your time based on distance. I did that in the Dolby renderer. That's it. So then you're on here and you can just mute your fronts, solo your fronts, get the terrestrials or get your tops, whatever you want to do. Just boop, 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 boop. You can hear all that stuff instantly because we're back in good old analog land.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Merrick, thanks ever so much.
Yes, my brother.
That was a lot of fun.
So good to see you.
Great. It's great to see you in Hamburg. Beautiful Hamburg.
Yeah. I got to get out and check it out. It's my first time here.
Your first time here?
It is.
Yeah, I love that. I love they put this on.
Yeah.
Want to be really super supportive. So it's a great excuse once a year to come all the way out to Hamburg.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll put links underneath for all of the products. There will be the website link and everything down below. Wayne, how the devil are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. Are you doing marvellously well?
Yeah, marvellous.
Where are you from?
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah.
You said castle. It's
And?
been a while.
Well, I'm from Darlington originally, but living in Newcastle at the minute.
I see. Whereabouts in?
Near the coast, North Shields.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
So how have you been finding?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, met some really cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey over here and how you found it.
Well, I work with a self-recording band. I edit for them. I mean, I'm a musician myself, but I produce, I edit. I find myself doing everything, you know.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Very well.
But I met Benedict one time. I've ended up editing his podcast, and here I am helping out. Mostly as a cameraman today, but you know.
You're like one of us doing 55 different jobs.
Yeah.
What has been your favourite thing here?
Here. Oh, you.
Oh.
No,
Really?
man, you said stuff that resonated with me yesterday.
Oh, you're very kind.
You get the culture in music, British music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and what it means to us being British as well. Yeah, just a lot of things you were saying about that. And you said something that resonated with me yesterday when you were talking about, you know, you want to specialise in something.
Yeah.
You can't really.
No.
You find yourself doing a bit of everything.
You have to, and it's
wanna
more
mix.
fun anyway.
I want to mix, and that's the thing I do the least, you know?
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
fine with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah,
Wayne, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate it. That was wonderful.
thank you.
Thomas, how the devil are you?
I'm bloody fine, thank you.
You good? Have you
Yeah.
enjoyed the show?
Yeah, very much. 3 days, excellent talks, nice speakers, lots of brilliant people, lots of nice people.
Any
Yeah, it was
equipment
blessed.
here that you love? Anything that took your eye?
Yeah, definitely. Have you been to the guys from Analog Vibes?
We did a little thing.
They rebuilt this LA2A, and it sounds just brilliant. It's,
Great.
yeah, and the microphone, the R88.
Yes, we talked about
Yeah,
it.
and if I'm going to buy an expensive microphone, it's going to be this one. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks, Thomas. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Hello, Alice. Because dear, we are here at lovely Studioszene 2023. I got to throw you under the bus. I just heard this is your first time out of the States.
It is, yes.
Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
So you go right into the baptism of fire. You're flying all the way to Hamburg, beautiful Hamburg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We actually flew into Frankfurt and then we drove 4 hours on the Autobahn. So,
Did you have a business meeting or something in Frankfurt? Or?
yeah, we did
Okay.
with the session desk guys. They had all our racks built up for us. It was
Lovely.
Yeah, they made us feel like we were at home. It was awesome.
So how have you been enjoying Hamburg since you've been here?
It's been really cool. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
staying in a really like cultural, cool, like artistic part of town.
Where
Like,
are you staying?
honestly, it's
What's the name of the hotel?
15. It's an Airbnb actually.
Oh, wow.
And like to get to it, there's like all this graffiti and like just this
Oh, you probably
crazy
stay in a
gate.
similar area to us.
Yeah.
Well, the
And-
thing about Hamburg is you can be in one area and then move 2 kilometers and you're in a completely different area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bonkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all the restaurants, everything is just so cool. Yeah.
I think you're just down the street from us. This is great. So obviously, those people that are following us will know that we have done extensive tests of stuff, and we had a blast with the 260.
I think we
Yeah.
just did a giveaway you guys did with this
Yep.
too, with the video. Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. Love it. It performed. It basically performed. I mean, I know 160s, 165s, and I have a 162, which is a stereo. I know them intimately well. I've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of recordings on it, and it performed exactly like I wanted it to. But it was quieter than any of my vintage units. And I think that's sort of a bottom line when it comes to
Yeah.
this. You know, you want that sound, you get the sound, but you also get it to be clean.
Yeah.
I don't mind a bit of buzzes and clicks and a bit of distortion every now and then, but it has to be in the right places.
Yes.
No, it's really good. Absolutely beautiful. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
We'll put a link to that video. What else have we got? What's new?
So a lot of this rack is new. I know
Good.
you checked out the reverb last time at AES.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
We announced this at the last NAMM. This is the ASA 6A. This is our take on the classic RCA BA 6A.
Lovely.
And it came out in 1951, and it's...
You're not that old. No, I'm sorry.
I am not that old. I was born in 1981. So this has got all 9 tubes, like
Yep.
all the original layout of the transformers. It's got every single crazy thing you would expect in a BA6A. But what we've done is we made it more agreeable for the modern studio.
Meaning, well, better attack and release times?
Adding attack and release times
Yeah.
and controls, adding a threshold control, super
Right.
important on something like this. It can get super grabby, but then also there's the stock values written on the Silk Legend. So if you just want the stock BA6A, it's just right there, super
Great.
easy. We also added a simple sidechain high pass at 120 hertz.
Yeah.
And then we also added a negative feedback switch, which reduces the negative feedback, kind of kicks it in the butt, gives it like a really cool, edgy, harmonic tone.
Lovely.
Yeah, it does add some noise by doing that, but it is so much fun.
You EMI'd it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, because
Basically.
EMI would always buy like the Altex, wouldn't they, and take them back over to the UK, to England, and then they would go, no, we need to add all these functions.
And-
yeah, very smart.
And another thing you mentioned about the noise, like in the modern studio, this thing, like the original, like with the old Mallory attenuators, you'd probably be able to turn it up to about there, and then you're done. And that's just so not satisfying.
Yeah.
So we did reduce the gain on the output stage just a little, so you could drive the output harder. And it's a lot more fun. Yeah, it's a lot more of a modern studio
Well, like
tool.
you're saying, a variable attack and release is huge on something like this. I used to, still probably to this day, if I go into a studio and I see one of these, I'll print my backgrounds through them.
Yeah.
Because they can just grab the background
Yeah.
and hold it, and you can go back through. What I would normally do is pair my backgrounds around and then print, because I usually ever have one, print the left channel through it, then the right channel through it, put it back into my mix, bring it up on fader, and there's my backgrounds. But it was completely useless for anything else, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
Because it just grabbed it and held it.
Smacks you right in the
Yeah.
face. And also the
This
old
makes
one,
it more useful.
Yeah, because right there, like you can see how much slower the needle gets once you start moving that release that way.
Yeah.
It's a lot more useful having that release time in general, just being able to tweak that. Also, you mentioned only having one. We did add a stereo link jack to the back of this. So if you get a pair of these and the stereo links,
Now
it
you're
tracks.
using the word pair, we're going to have to get to that big word. How much is it before?
So in the US, we're going to be debuting these, the introductory price of $29.99, just under $3,000, which is a
It's not bad.
solid price for
Yeah,
what
that's
you're getting.
Pretty good for that, yeah.
These tubes are like
Yeah,
from the 40s
yeah.
and 50s we're using in there. Like they're
Oh wow, you're doing NOS.
Oh yeah, there's no
New
new,
old stock for those.
there's no new production equivalent for really anything except for the power
Okay.
tubes. Yeah.
Wow.
So everything is new NOS except for the power tubes.
How much stock do you have of NOS?
This is years in the making. Obviously, something like this just doesn't happen overnight. So I've been collecting tubes ever since I knew we were designing
What's
this.
your kind of failure rate? Do you have to listen to 40 to get 10? You know.
On the 6SK7s, which are like the 6386, the compression tube, it's two of them.
Which is what was in the Fairchild, yeah.
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 And basically, and the Gates, the 6386.
Yeah.
It's kind of like those are the two tubes that create that effect. So
Yeah.
getting them to match and balance right, and then also not have microphonics and hum. Those are the tubes that are a crapshoot. Everything else is pretty easy.
I want to know what
Yeah.
your failure rate is on those.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, throw them against the wall. Yeah.
Yeah. A labor
Yeah.
of love. So my hat's off to you for taking the time and the energy to do this.
Yeah. No, thank you. And this is new as well. We actually have this.
Yeah, this is actually my
1170
favorite thing, and we were talking about it under wraps, weren't we? Yeah. I
yeah.
always could never figure out when I started up. People hated 1178s. They're all like, oh no, they're not good, because there was something about them. They said it's not a this. Or what was the thing that people used to?
So why I think some people don't like an 1178 is because it's like a stereo version of a
Yeah.
Rev G, which
Rev
is
G,
where
okay.
they got rid of the input transformers.
That was it. It was input transform. Thank you for reminding me.
But people learned where these found their place for sure.
Yeah,
like
they
in the-
started talking about these amazing records like Hugh Padgham was making, and then reading, oh, by the way, he was using that on a stereo room. So like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe we should get one of these. You know?
yeah,
That's what we all do.
I think there is no better compressor for a stereo room
Yeah, I agree.
than this.
Yeah, because, you know, especially at the period, you know, when these things first came out, you know, the release time on them was like incredibly fast. There was nothing else on the market.
Yeah.
There was no distressors when these came out,
Yep.
you know. And yeah, you could just get this to like really, really pump and just go and get it. Take your average small room and make it sound absolutely massive. So I'm very excited for this. Congratulations.
Yeah, also want to give Ryan Hewitt a shout out for this one because he was really integral in the mods that are on this.
Great.
With this is actually, we don't really have too many mixed blends, and having that blend, if you really want to crush the room
Nice.
mic like you were talking about, being
Yeah.
able to blend that back, that was an excellent suggestion by him. And he also suggested added some sidechain high pass filter
Yeah,
values.
absolutely. Yeah,
But we did it, as you could tell, it's pretty much the
For
same.
rooms in particular,
Yeah.
because if you want that kick to actually, you know, still breathe. And the worst thing is if you don't have that feature and you've got a drummer who's smashing the cymbals, you know, all you're going to do is exaggerate that stuff.
Yeah.
You're not really going to be able to treat that differently to the low end. So that's Yeah, that's a must.
Yeah, so he was really integral in that, but also we did it in the typical Audioscape fashion where it's not it still looks like the original unit without being it's more subtle as far as the implementation. Yep. So it's just a simple 3-position toggle right there. And then of course the original A/B switch, which is
Is it working between?
it's 80 and 120 hertz.
80 and 120.
Yep.
Nice. Very nice indeed.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, going up to 120 would be really good for bass guitar as well. Getting that 80 to 100 area, let that breathe and go through as well. Yeah, very versatile. Always loved these on rooms and never could figure out why people back in the 90s didn't like them. And I'm glad that now there's some sense and sensibility has come in and people realize just how unbelievably good they are.
And if people want, the 1176 style with those input transformers, we make all 3 revisions. The A,
okay.
D, and the F. They're right in the other rack over there. So if they
Okay,
want
great.
those and they want a stereo pair of that, you can buy 2 of those. But
Great.
this, like we said, amazing on stereo drum. Like
Did you have the 33609? The 609?
So the MK609, this
Yeah.
is funny. We just announced this. This is like a prototype case.
Okay.
We just literally got the knobs in 2 days before we flew out. We put this on the plane with us. So this is so brand spanking new. We had a metal knob I bought it was a customer of ours in New Zealand, and Vintage King wanted to buy it from him. And he's like, no, I want to sell it to Audioscape. So I bought years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I bought an original metal knob.
Yeah.
And we've just been dissecting it for years. And we added a couple extra little features, like we added the comp attack times. So they got, stock and fast and slow. So that's different from the original, but of course you could still get stock. And then
Yeah.
once again, simple sidechain high pass filters. So
Really nice.
yeah, everything else
That's
is
a must, to be
one-to-one.
honest. I'm going to be one of those guys that nobody's going to agree with, which is okay. I like conversation. I never really got on with these on my mix bus. I knew how to manipulate, SSL 4000 bus compressor. Always a little disappointing originally that they didn't have a sidechain function or a modern kind of thing. But this was the one that always got me, is that I could never get the low end to work in the way I wanted it to. And maybe it's just the way I mix and all that kind of stuff. But I'm probably in a majority because this is obviously is the most popular kind of bus compressor ever made.
Certainly, yeah.
The thing about the SSL, of course, is it just has everything SSL when it comes to compression. It just have that little spank thing that nobody else does.
Yep.
Everything just
VCA,
yeah.
I love VCA style compression, like the 260 and the SSL bus style. That's they are so great general purpose tool. You can't mess them up.
What do you use? Are you using the DATs? What are you using
Oh,
for the VCS?
actually, that's an excellent question. So I actually took an original pair of 161s and modded them to 160 specs and learned a lot about what could go wrong with the old circuit. And we replicated the original VCA 1-to-1. We got all new stock.
So you made your own VCA. So you're
Yes.
not buying the 1202s like everybody else does.
No, and
You're making your own.
yes. And then
That's a big conversation. I don't think
yeah, and
anybody's had.
I measured an original VCA versus ours, same exact THD, same exact gain levels, everything.
Yeah.
And but I mentioned Newell stock FETs in the VCA. All modern FETs won't even make a sound if you put them in there.
Wow.
So we just, once again, being based in the U.S., it's a big advantage having that surplus parts market that we can tap into.
Thanks ever so much for taking us through this. What do we have? Anything new over here you want to talk about?
Well, we have our train wreck series,
Right.
And I think we talked about this a little bit last
we've
time.
been through it, yeah.
Yeah, we have an artist in Arizona who does all the steampunk lamps and that, and he does all this crazy patina work. And the knob and the tactile feel of this is just completely different. I know for some people they see the pictures and it's not the same as just seeing it in person. You can see that this is actually. It's gone through a process. It's not just us just in our warehouse banging stuff around and clanking stuff and here you go, people. No, there's an actual artist who does this, and in person it is a sight to see versus the photos. People, they always say that they're like, wow, in person it's so much better than I imagined. So
How much is the 76D?
$8.99.
$8.99. Great. That's a
Yep.
good price
Same with
point.
the F.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the F was the same color. It was just a black front panel. And these two circuits are so different sounding.
Really?
This one's so much brighter, modern, and this is low end is super woolly, and it's a lot deeper and darker on the 76D. And then, of course, we're all familiar with the A and what that does
Yeah.
and how aggressive the mid-range is. And
Yeah, totally.
so it's, having all three of these, people sometimes ask, like, what's the best one? And you really have to delve into what they're looking for.
Well, this is
with
what I
their
know
style.
best.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong for saying this? Was this their biggest selling kind of revision? I've seen more Ds in studios
Yeah.
than any others. Yeah.
It is. And I think it's that quintessential look that people associate that they can get too. Yeah.
I do love the sounds of these, and that extra crunch in the mids is fantastic. But that is probably what I know really, really well.
Yeah.
Chris, you're a rock star.
No, you are, Warren.
No,
and thank
no.
you.